Speaking of nothing to lose, when you haven't dropped an album in almost a decade, you really have nothing to lose. And Bright Eyes certainly gave it their all on this album.
X.
It's a very I'm not gonna say bloated because I don't think this album's bloated at all, but there's a lot on this album, a lot of different flourishes and touches. And yeah, just the fact that Bright Eyes is back with their new drop, Down in the Weeds, where the world once was, is kind of crazy. Dave,
Yeah.
any familiarity with Bright Eyes prior to this?
Of course, we did review Better Oblivion Community Center last year. Check that out, youtube.com/nostalgiapod. Other than that, Conor Oberst was but a name to me, not the type of indie rock I normally listen to. Yet a very important figure that is often cited as an inspiration by many people in mainstream pop. So I've seen this written a lot recently that the Bright Eyes is almost getting like the critical respect it didn't get back in the day, belatedly. Obviously, I'm not a big enough fan to speak to that, but that's kind of cool. That's interesting. That doesn't happen all the time. And really, not having much exposure to old Bright Eyes, just kind of going into this. I like this album a lot.
Yeah.
And I think Oberst stood out to me and helped me like it. You know, those flourishes you mentioned, this album kind of changes what it sounds like from time to time. And we're going to get to another rock album later that didn't do that enough for me. But Bright Eyes surprised me. I did not expect to like it as much as I did.
Yeah, it's funny. There's been reading articles and hearing some of the acclaim Bright Eyes gets from current artists, young artists. It's almost kind of like they
Post Malone, for example.
Yeah, but they kind of are getting like compared to Bob Dylan in a sense, in terms of like being the voice of this generation that's growing up in a society that feels like it's decaying and falling apart. And Bright Eyes is kind of known for having these like apocalyptic like themes running through a lot of their songs.
I always think of nihilism. Like,
yes, for sure.
Conor's dark.
Yes, absolutely. Like one of my favorite songs. So I guess there's probably two that I think of, and I think one is a very well-known song by them called "Devil Town." It was in the Friday Night Lights movie TV show closing out season 1. So I think a lot of people kind of learned it there. "Devil Town," I think, is a very relatable song. But then a song like "Easy Lucky Free," which is a bit more of a deeper cut for Bright Eyes, is very much just like, yeah, the world's falling apart, but just go with the flow, go along with it. Like, this is just all we can do. And I think that kind of embodies the spectrum of Bright Eyes in a lot of ways, those two songs. And then you think about, we listened to Better Oblivion Community Center last year, and we both really liked it. I think Phoebe really inspired Conor in a lot of ways to bring his A game to that, and really solid album. And then I think he had something to talk about on this. I think not only is this a time in society when things really do feel like they're burning to the ground, but Conor's personal life was kind of burning to the ground when he wrote this. He was going through a divorce. He lost his brother. Those two things are very much like a part of this album and kind of stand out. And I think the music really kind of fits that theme, and it kind of, I'm really impressed, I think, with how Conor writes lyrics that feel so personal, but then can be extrapolated to broader themes so easily a lot of the time. Did you find yourself connecting with any of that, or at least noticing that as you were listening?
Yeah, I think so. Early on with Dance and Sing, where the way he sings, I think it's a dance on through, I think is what he's saying. And it's just like, you can kind of like hear the pain, but it's to me, it's like top tier, like indie rock vocal delivery with that. Yeah. And when the vocals grab me like that, that's when I can really connect with the lyrics, and I mean, you can tell. It's funny because like normally I'm not really down with stuff that's like super down or emo, but I don't really think of this as like emo music. I think that's because those vocals change throughout the record, but also I think they're strong vocals, and on top of that, I think I like the drums and guitar throughout most of this. So Dance and Sing stood out to me, and Mariana's Trench, which is probably that was a single, makes sense as a single. That's a pretty accessible track, but that one's still a highlight to me as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally agree. Mariana Trench really stood out to me. And you mentioned the singing. Conor is really has this warble in his voice
Definitely.
that I think is so distinct for him, but really
Hmm.
works to his delivery and his song, uh, uh, in whatever he's singing about. I thought to Death's Heart in three parts was probably the track I found to be the most engaging and the one I liked the most. It was folky but psychedelic at parts. It was almost kind of like I don't know, kind of reminded me of like a song you might hear at like a wedding, but like so much darker. It was kind of weird, and I think the guitars in it was really really great. And then Persona non grata, another single from this. There's this like breakdown in the middle where these like voices chime in, and there's like a choir or chorus that comes together. Just some really wonderful moments. I think on Persona non grata they also had the bagpipes in it. I think that was the one. And that really also was like a moment. A couple of these songs, just to note, had Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers jumping on the bass, which I thought was pretty cool because I mean, anytime you can get Flea to play bass, you kind of have to take it. I think. Um, yeah. Any other thoughts on this? I mean, I just think there's a lot to like here in
Hmm.
general.
I thought it closed pretty well. I like Calais to Dover
Mm-hmm.
and Comet Song as well.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I mean, it's something, it's what, 40 minutes. No, 55 minutes, but I think it really holds your attention, which
Yeah.
for me, my personal taste is not common with indie rock. So I was very happy with this one.
Their last album was 9 years ago. So the fact that they released something this cohesive, this
Yeah.
thoughtful, and I thought
Doesn't
sonically
sound out
just
of date either.
no, it just is like really impressive to see them have this strong of a comeback.